Alright guys, so we're going to start filming at 225 and see how the speed and the bar path of everything goes. And it's packed in here. Let's go. Alright guys, what's going on? RZ Fitness checking in. This should be an interesting video. And where do we begin exactly? Well, what I'm going to talk about today is based on my experience and what I've been seeing on YouTube, having been lifting for 10 to 12 years now. We're going to touch on pec tears and why we've been seeing them in the YouTube fitness world. So there we go, boys and girls. I think today's the day where we go to 255 from 250. I don't feel like doing 10 sets at 250. I feel strong. So for that reason, we're going to go to 255 and do anywhere from 3 to 6 sets. Let's rest and go. So before we get in on that, this is a lifetime PR basically. I have benched over 255 in the past, but for the past 12 months or so, I have been doing triples on the bench press, just starting with 225, which was easy for me, always has been for the past few years of lifting, and just doing sets of 3 until I can hit 7, 8, 9, maybe even 10 sets clean. And now we finally made it to 255, and as you can see, the programming has been working very well because I have maintained my strength in my back off maintenance and deload phases, and once I rest up and recover and start building up volume, my strength is going up as well. So I worked with 250 the past 5 to 6 bench sessions. I was sick, so it took me a little while, had to kind of pull back off the gas. And today on this day, yesterday benching, I just went to 255. It felt like I had at least 3 to 5 sets, and I did exactly that, but actually kind of surpassed it. So it's a fucking joke. When you want something and you work and you rest and you eat and you recover and you do what it takes, good shit comes to you. So I'm surprised at pushing myself, not eating as much as I need to, not gaining weight, just maintaining in the gym. Now that I got a good night's sleep twice in a row, now look what happens. So aside from my bench progress finally hitting 255 for, I didn't even count the sets here, it must be 6 or 7 sets. I'm very, very happy with my form, and let's go ahead and take a look at that right now and then compare it to some of these pec tears that we've seen. So if you guys can see me benching here, I've got just outside a shoulder width grip, and I'm bringing the barbell right around my nipple line and pausing it on my chest, trying to mostly support the barbell with my grip strength, with my pec strength, with my triceps, obviously whatever's in that range of motion, and then exploding up. So I'm gonna show you guys the rest of the upper body workout, but we're gonna talk about some pec tears that we've seen lately. Number 1, Jerry Ward. Now I never talk about fitness YouTubers, but I do watch YouTube religiously. It's where I've gotten most of my information. It's not a coincidence that I've made probably almost 1,000 YouTube videos and that I watch a lot of YouTube, and I've been watching a lot of YouTube. I've actually, if you go look back at my channel, I've started when YouTube was already popular, but me and a couple other YouTubers kind of started the prep vlogs and the eating challenges. We kind of pushed that along a little bit, because before that it was just a couple guys and maybe Matt Stoney and Furious Pete, but we kind of brought it to a more general audience of YouTubers, and obviously people have surpassed me in eating and in competing and all that type of stuff, but we all had our own views and all had our own desires with our channels. So I like to stay more educational and informative and not really push anything to the limit, whether it's dosages, eating, training, or anything like that. So Jerry Ward, I watched his video recently, and the first thing I can tell you is, 1, he's not using full range of motion. And when you don't use full range of motion, what happens? Well, a lot of people will argue that it saves your shoulder joints to not use full range of motion. But we've seen over and over again, tendonitis, tears, and injuries come from doing exactly that, not using a full range of motion. Because when you don't use a full range of motion, the 2 main issues are you're going to use more weight than your 1 rep max, or you're just going to use more weight than you can actually press doing the exercise correctly with a full range. So you're going to use more weight, bring it down wherever you choose to, 2, 3, 4 inches, and then you're going to do that rep. That's fine. But what happens when you misgroove a rep, or maybe you get a little elbow pain or something and you bring the bar down a little deeper by accident? Once that happens, your muscles, your joints, you are not going to be able to generate enough power below that range of motion that you're used to. And in the case of Jerry Ward, if you go back and watch the video, He unracks 275 and his form is okay. He brings the barbell in the right path, but he stops 2 inches short. Now his spotter's like, oh, you got more in you, and Jerry's like, yeah, I got more in me, when he can't even do 275 for a full rep. Now, does he have the strength and the ability to actually do it? It's somewhat irrelevant because he doesn't even perform the exercise correctly. So that's great, he can do 275 2 inches above his chest, but what happened when he went to 315? You can clearly see in the video when he brings 315 down, he says he tries to reverse it, which I guess he means start the concentric part of the motion or the exercise. He stops about 3 to 3.5 inches short. So Jerry, knowing this, he knows from his previous set that he can bench 275 at about 2 inches above his chest. So when he unracked 315, he already knew he couldn't do that again, that he needed to stop 3 to 3.5 inches above his chest. Problem is, he probably had to stop 6 to 8 or just not do the weight at all because it's greater than his 1 rep max. So Jerry unracked it and attempted to bench press something greater than his 1 rep max and tore his pec. Now, I don't want to speak negatively about people or get bad karma or anything like that, but when I'm in the gym, I'm bringing a weight less than my 1 rep max to my chest and pressing it and locking it out fully and racking it. I don't use help unracking it. I don't use help re-racking it. I don't have anyone touch the barbell while I'm training. I don't even have anyone near me when I'm benching. So automatically, if I do, God forbid, get a pec tear, it's not for the same reason that these YouTubers are getting a pec tear. So next, the next most recent, or I guess most important ones, are going to be Devin Physique and Jeremy Buendia. Now, I knew about these pec tears as soon as they happened, and the one that's freshest in my mind is Devin Physique. He did and tore his pec in a completely different manner than Jerry did, so I do want to touch on that. A lot of people will say the barbell bench press is the devil, or don't touch your chest because it hurts your shoulders, or whatever. And people don't really have anything negative to say about dumbbells because, well, if you're just holding a weight in your hand and it injures you, it's basically your fault. You can't blame it on the bar being too bent or the bar being, too straight or whatnot. If you go back and watch Devin Physique's video, he's probably handling about 140s and 150s, and not to be a dick, but his physique looks like he could probably barely press 100 pounds. But aside from that, he obviously goes to start the rep and receives help to do the first rep. Now, what does that have in common with Jerry Ward? Well, it's something greater than his 1 rep max. So both of these guys unracked something or had help to get into position, a weight that they cannot even press 1 time. So Devin goes down, and unlike Jerry, who actually had some decent bar path or motion, Devin went straight like this with the dumbbell, and as soon as it hit the bottom, he tore his pec. So really not much to say about that. If that's not obviously improper training, then I really don't know what to say. But one thing I do want to point out is that Jerry Ward is I guess you could call him a famous prep coach and renowned prep coach. Devin Physique made tons of money for shreds selling supplements and selling programs. And what do these two people have in common? They don't have basic training knowledge of anyone who's even taken an anatomy class or a physiology class, or maybe even is actually a certified personal trainer through one of those newer accredited programs that actually teach you some basic training philosophy. Nowhere in the NASM book did it say use partial reps. Nowhere in the CSCS stuff does it say use partial reps. Unrack something that the person cannot do for 1 repetition. That's not even training knowledge, that's just common sense, and obviously they don't have it in part of the profession that they're doing, which is why I think it's worth calling out, because you have thousands of people watching these guys, and I think they're not getting the best information they can get, and in some cases they're getting the worst information, like, hey, let's try to do above our 1 rep max, not even our 1 rep max, let's try to go way past it when we've never done it before. So last but not least, how can I forget, the best physique in the world, Jeremy Buendia. So Jeremy Buendia had another pec tear as well. This was like 6 months ago, so nothing new. I never saw any footage of this, but it's funny, a month before or a few months before I heard about the pec tear, I saw him benching with Big Boy and Strength Cartel. And I think he went up to 365 and was bouncing that off his chest. Could he pause bench that? Maybe. But he went to 405 and did it for some reps, bouncing it off his chest. So what did Jeremy and his pec tear probably have in common with Jerry and Devin? Again, benching something greater than your 1 rep max and not being able to do it through a full range of motion. At least Devin tried to do full range, but when you just drop a weight onto your chest, I mean, you know, it doesn't really matter. It kind of crushed him more than doing full range of motion. So if Jeremy's bouncing 365 off his chest and bouncing 405 off his chest, that's obviously an indicator that he has no strength in the bottom of the movement. He doesn't have the proper shoulder stability or strength, etc., etc. So if you find yourself going to the barbell bench press, if you find yourself doing dumbbell bench presses, rule of thumb number one is going to be you have to be working within something that's realistically 70 to 80% of your 1 rep max. Now, I worry that some people might say, okay, well, you know, if I'm benching 250 for triple, my 1 rep max is 350. There's calculators online. You should know better than to just assume that your 1 rep max is 30 to 50 pounds greater than it is, like these 3 guys who tore their pecs. So basically, the main thing we can take away from this is when you go to do any sort of exercise in the gym, specifically compound movements, don't ever work with something that is your 1 rep max or greater. 1 rep maxes are something for powerlifters in competition, and it's something for gym bros to impress people in the gym who aren't even giving a complete shit about it. So pick something that you can handle. Don't ever try something that you've never done before unless you know that your training has set you up to get it. The way you train, the way I walked into the 255 for triples, I didn't worry that I may not get it because I've already done 40 sets with 250 pounds over the past month. So knowing that, I know I could do 255, I could probably do 260 and 265. But if I lose my stability, if I lose my bar path, if I lose something at the bottom or the top of the range of motion, that's where the injury risk is. Very rarely will someone tear a pec doing an exercise with full range of motion with something that is substantially less than the 1 rep max. So 3 pec tears in the past year from 3 of some of the biggest names in the industry. That doesn't give them any credibility. It doesn't mean that I think they are, but Jeremy is the best Physique Olympia, is number 1 in Physique Olympia, so he's technically one of the best lifters in the world, physique-wise. And then Devin, Physique, and Jerry have been well known in the industry for scaling people and also offering advice. So don't do what they do. Find someone on YouTube who does exercises correctly, do a bit of research, and think for yourselves, guys, because if you find yourself benching or pressing something that you can't handle, you might find yourself with 1 less pec. So let's train smart, listen to our bodies, and knock on wood, we'll be good to go. Peace. All right, guys, I'm gonna let you in a little secret. I'm not gonna lie, I was feeling like a complete came to the gym today, mostly because I was too lazy to figure out what church around me was one I could go to today. So unfortunately, I accepted that, got kind of upset about it. And then the key to my success today was turning on a ZKK, Zach Khan video. If you guys know who Zach Khan is, you'd probably know that in 2010 to 12 or so, he suffered a double quad tear on the hack squat. And this is when I was all, you know, kill it, super motivated to become a mass monster freak before I realized that I didn't have the genetics. But anyways, I used to watch his vlogs. He couldn't walk, he couldn't do anything. And he went from being one of the biggest bodybuilders in the circuit to being basically paralyzed from the waist down, or at least immobilized from the waist down. And I put on one of his videos today, which I will link in the description. And yeah, guys, you gotta accept your problems, accept what's, and then put it aside and get what you have to get done. And then when you have the opportunity to make it right, that's when you do that. So anyways, what an epic day. It's the strongest I've been in my life.